So the Chazon Ish says, now these teachers, these rabbis are coming into town. They want to teach Torah. And naturally, the people that are not satisfied with the old and the familiar teachers that are in town, there's always going to be a bunch of people like that. Oh, thanks heavens that you're here. Yeah, we hate this rabbi. Well, you didn't say anything for 2 years. You send your kids there. How come you didn't say anything till now? How come all of a sudden you hate him? How come all of a sudden you're No, we needed something new. There's always going to be those people. There's always going to be those people that they got too familiar, they got too used to the old, and they can't wait for something new. Not because something new is better, but because they feel it's better. So there's always going to be certain people like that. And of course, the guy, the yeshiva, the local bet midrash, the local rabbi is going to lose out. He's going to lose some customers. And people start sending their children to the newcomers, which hurts the livelihood of the local teachers. Now, the injured teachers, meaning that the local teachers that are getting injured by this, begin to hate the newcomers who are threatening their livelihood. And that hatred causes them to think up all manner of pretexts, faults, and libels to use against them, until they get used to speaking ill of them. Look at what the words that the Chazon Ish uses. He says, they see this competition coming to town, they don't like it. So they start talking amongst each other. Yeah, I don't think he's that good. Yeah, he won't survive. Yeah, you see this guy? Yeah, this, yeah, that. They start saying some things. Then somebody walks in. Hey, what are you guys talking about? No, you see that new guy? He just walked in, just started a YouTube channel. He just, I don't know, he's giving out CDs. See that guy? What do you think of that guy? I don't know, I was waiting for you. I don't know. Oh, all of a sudden they feel comfortable talking to him and him and him and him. And before you know it, they get comfortable saying all types of things about him, about somebody else, all types of lies, all types of lashon hara amongst each other. And they don't even think about lashon hara. They don't even think about it's forbidden. Why? They're doing it so often, they got used to it. It became permissible in their eyes. The sin became permissible in their eyes. Why? They got used to it. They got used to speaking ill of them. And this, unfortunately, Rabotai, is very common. This is why the Rambam, I saw it with my own eyes one time when he talks about Lashon Hara. He says someone that said Lashon Hara on a certain occasion still has to be punished, but has a share of the world to come. What do you mean on an occasion? Because surely someone that speaks Lashon Hara on a regular basis, the Rambam says, has no share of the world to come. Someone that made Lashon Hara a regular part of their daily speech, a regular part of their Shabbat table speech, a regular part of their life, constantly saying Lashon Hara so often they forgot it's forbidden, surely they have no share of the world to come. Surely they have no share of the world to come. Hashem Yishmor. Sometimes we get so used to, every single one of us. We talk, we forget it's Lashon Hara. Why? We got used to talking. That's why you have to always be careful. Wait, is what I'm saying connected to the Torah? Is what I'm saying relevant? Is what I'm saying productive? Is what I'm saying even allowed? This is something each and every single one of us has to work on. Each and every single one of us. Why? Sometimes you get, you want to get something off your chest. Somebody hurts you, somebody this, somebody that. I always tell you, the best thing in the world to do is never talk about people. But it makes life very difficult. Why? Because most of the conversations we like to have is about people. That's natural for all people. So that's why it's good to learn Torah and tell stories, because in essence you're talking about people, just not people that are alive today. It's stories about people that lived in the Torah. Anyway, things deteriorate further as they get used to saying ill things about these new teachers, to the point where they begin to libel the newcomers. To libel the newcomers falsely and awaken the feeling of mercy of the townspeople against their seeming cruelty. Quarrels and fights follow, and sometimes the locals take revenge on the newcomers to the best of their ability. Because now they don't like this new guy, they don't like this new thing, they don't like that. Tell people, see what this guy's doing? Look at that. He's half my age, he's coming to take my parnasa. See that? He couldn't go somewhere else. He couldn't do something else. And start touching everybody's emotions. Look, I'm here, I'm working, I'm trying to help. Well, I'm not helping you guys? I'm helping, right? Oh, see? And look at what he's saying about me. He's saying I'm not a good teacher. He says I'm a heretic. He says just because I brought a missionary to the synagogue, I'm a bad person. What? I'm a bad person? You guys were at my house last week. And he starts touching people's emotions. They forget to think. He starts thinking for them. Because of all the nonsense that he says, all the nonsense she says, all the nonsense. And instead of people thinking for themselves what's right, what's wrong, what's allowed, what's not allowed, they think with their emotions. And to help them get to that conclusion that their emotions should be against the common enemy, he starts making up lies. He's a thief. He cheats. He's a liar. That he's a murderer. He's a this. Make up all types of stuff. Yeah, you just look up, just look up this. Just look up this. Yeah, you'll see. They make up anything. Why? When you don't have a legitimate argument, what do? You have to discredit the other party somehow. By making up stuff. This happens constantly in politics. This happens in the news. This happens everywhere. Now, unfortunately, what ends up happening is that there's always followers that have less brain and a lot of emotions. A little bit of brain and a lot of emotions. Sometimes it's good to have some people like that. They're passionate, they're good. But sometimes it's dangerous. If nobody's supervising them, they can do stupid things. So that's what happens a lot of times with these quarrels with people. There's always like a follower or two or three or 15 or 50 that just decide to start fighting. You saw this in the White House just the other day. I'm not really sure if it was really planned or not planned. That's not really my business, nor do I care. But the point is, surely no one really wanted that result. At least not, I don't think Donald Trump wanted that result, that people would break into the White House, start breaking stuff. I don't think he thought that that's going to help his whole claim. So that's not part of the plan. Now, of course, that could have actually been planned by the other side, but that's not really our business. The point being is, that type of stuff happens constantly, where you see there's, let's say, a dispute by big Rosh Yeshivas. And then you see, okay, he says yes, he says no, he says right, he says wrong. And all of a sudden, you see the Talmidim of both yeshivas show up to each other's yeshiva and smash chairs on each other. Who told you to go fist fight? Who told you to do these things? This has happened in history. This has happened. Even though it was not Rosh Yeshiva never said such a thing. Never said go beat up another Jew. Never said such a thing. But it happens. Why? Sometimes there's more emotions than there is brain. It happens. And the locals take revenge on the newcomers to the best of their ability. Now, all of these actions would be clean of any sin or transgression if, according to halacha, the locals were indeed allowed to hinder the newcomers. If so, the newcomers could be the sinners, as they would be going against the halacha that was told to Moshe Rabbeinu on Mount Sinai. Under such circumstances, there could be no prohibition against conducting such a struggle against them. The hatred would not be causeless. The prohibition against lashon hara, against slander, would not apply. And indeed, it would be a sacred battle, a legitimate, even halachically commendable battle aimed at setting things right religiously. What? This, Rabotai, is my favorite part. Why? Here, the Chazon Ish not only tells us, let's look at the right perspective, but he also tells us the magnitude of being on the wrong side. The magnitude of being on the wrong side, which in today's world, especially in the Jewish world, people don't understand the magnitude of being on the wrong side. You see, here we have an halacha that inspires, or in essence enforces, a certain type of moral behavior. If you have a certain business, you are not allowed to open next to the same business that's already there. Unless it's Torah, it's in Kiruv, it's a Bet Midrash, it's a yeshiva. Even if it's a yeshiva, if you're going to go teach Torah, you could open it anywhere you want. Even if there was a yeshiva there for 1,000 years, you could open next door, he says. So those people that have been there for 10, 20 years, that now are telling everybody, hey, these newcomers, they're opening their yeshiva over here, we don't like it, these are evil people, these are bad people, these are this, these are that, making up all types of lies, saying Lashon Hara about them, and so on and so forth. Chazon Ish says, listen, if it's true that these new teachers are not allowed to come, if just like any other business, just like as if it was a toy store, if there wasn't a specific exception for Torah, and this was like a toy store or anything else, then technically, what does it mean? It means that the people that are coming, the new guy, he's a rasha for breaking into a new community. Who told you to do such a thing? He's a rasha for doing such a thing. On top of that, there's no prohibition against talking about him, against hating him. You're allowed to hate him. You're allowed to talk about him. In fact, there is no prohibition against saying Lashon Hara about him. You're allowed to say Lashon Hara about him. Why? This guy came in, he's threatening your business. He's not allowed to be here. In fact, talking Lashon Hara about him, saying all the bad things about him, all of these things would be considered as a sacred battle. Kiddush Hashem. This is the opposite of reality for most people. Why? Anytime we mention one of these reshaim, one of these wicked people that distorts the Torah, everybody's first argument, oh no, the fans usually, not the fans of ours, but the fans of the reshaim. Oh, Lashon Hara, you should be ashamed of yourself. Should be unity, should be this, should be this. Do you even know Lashon Hara rules? So let's see. Let's see, Rabotai Karim. Why? Because this means everything changes. Now we're going to finish this particular section, then we're going to go into the details of what this actually means. And then we're going to add something new to one of the people we mentioned recently. Now, the halacha, Rabotai, if it was that it's forbidden, prohibition against slander would not apply. In fact, it would be a sacred battle, a legitimate battle, a logically commendable battle, aimed at setting things right. But now the halacha has decreed otherwise, that competition between scholars increases wisdom in both parties, and that this principle takes precedence over the livelihood of individuals, meaning more Torah is more important than your money, your pocket. Yeah, what if I can't eat anymore? Don't worry, Kadosh Baruch Hu will give you to eat. Yeah, but he took all my students. Don't worry, Kadosh Baruch Hu knows that too. So wait, so my whole school should go bankrupt just for the sake of more Torah? If that's what Kadosh Baruch Hu wants, yes. Mind-boggling. See, he says, this principle takes precedence over the livelihood of individuals. The newcomers are acting in accordance with the law, with the halacha, and those that oppose them are attacking innocent people. When they hate them in their hearts, they're making a sin, a transgression, prohibiting against hating one's fellow Jew. You hate him because he's competing with you, that's a sin. And when they speak evil of him, that's another sin. It's another transgression. Of what? Prohibition of slander, Lashon Hara. And when they congregate people together for the purpose of quarreling against them, it's another sin. What sin is this? The prohibition of not being like Korach, who congregated people in opposition to Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron HaKohen. And when they take revenge on them by refusing them favors, you don't want to serve him, he comes to your store, you don't want to sell him something, he comes to the synagogue, you don't want to give him a chair, and so on and so forth. They're transgressing the prohibition against taking revenge, meaning you were acting morally right by rejecting them, by hating them, by saying Lashon Hara about them, if there were any other business. But the second it became the Torah business, your morals did not follow halacha, and therefore they became immoral. Therefore they became unlawful. Therefore they became sins. When it says in the Gemara Masechet Bava Batra that Rav Huna agrees that in the case of school teachers, one cannot hinder the competition, many moral rules are included in this halacha as a result from it. Now you see, Rabotai Yekarim, many times people think that they could be moral without the Torah. Without the Torah. This is impossible. Because just like we saw an example, and surely if the sages are given an example, this is a reality. This has happened, this happens. I can tell you firsthand this is happening to us in Eretz Yisrael. Where that wicked so-called rabbi over there is telling us, he's in essence causing almost 200 girls not to come to our seminary for free. It's not like we're taking money off of his plate. It's free. Refuses. Why? He wants control. He wants control. This happens in other places. This unfortunately happens all the time. People are fighting. Now, if it was a regular business, then technically you're allowed to not allow them to go in, to not service them, to say Lashon Hara about them, and so on and so forth. But once the morals do not follow the halacha, then that means they're immoral. And many times you'll see that the people taking morals into their own description, if you will, when people decide what is morally right and what is morally wrong themselves, the worst things in the world